Hi, Paige. How
Hi.
are you?
Good. How are you?
Good afternoon. How's your Sunday going?
Pretty well so far. How about yours?
Good. I'm super. We have um, Cincinnati in a couple of weeks, and so we have a dog sitter because you know we have dogs because you've heard, and
Yeah.
so we have a dog sitter that's coming over today, or that is here today and meeting them, and it's a veritable shit show. So it's good to be with you instead of all of that commotion.
Yeah.
So, can you refresh my memory page and remind me what this is, what class this is, and how I can help?
This is my urban design class.
Right.
Um, Basically it's our midterm since we're learning about urban design and your firm does urban design where he wants us to interview people who know what they've been doing for a while and see what their methods and processes are.
Gotcha. You have a series of questions, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, I do.
So I think someone asked uh, these questions to Carl, maybe a classmate of yours.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find the questions. Cassandra, is she in your class?
I believe so, yes.
Cassandra Floyd?
Yep.
Okay, good. So I have that email.
Cool. Good.
So, and I'm going to send that to you right now
Perfect.
so that you have the written sort of, and then so that's out. What happened? Let me look. It just went away for some reason. So I'm going to go to Cassandra. Okay. So I don't know if you have the same 2, 3, 4 questions, but if you have that email from me.
I'm looking through it right now.
You have to scroll down. There's some high fives and thank yous.
Okay.
So where it
Yeah,
says, "Hi, Cassandra, here you go. Hope this helps with your assignment." So are these the same questions, Paige?
very similar, yes. But I do have a few extra.
Good. So
Um,
why don't you go through your questions, and then if any of them overlap, we can figure out in your response so it's a little bit more personal and relevant to my perspective, because this is the perspective of Carl from our office, and Carl's our creative director, and he's been with us a lot longer, so his answers are really good. But
okay.
I have maybe a different perspective as well. So go
Okay.
ahead.
So my first question is, what is your design agency type? Um, I
So what
have
does that mean?
like, are you a public sector, private, institutional?
We're in the private sector, so we
Okay.
are uh, uh, we are a company that is a for hire scenario. So we do not work. We are not part of the U.S. government. We are not part of the state of Michigan.
Okay.
So we're a company that you could hire or that I could hire and use for our design expertise.
Okay. Um, what type of plans do you do?
So if there's a word in front of plans like architectural plans or urban plans, um, if we focus on urban because of the nature of your studio, your class, I would say that the plans really are suitable for our end users. So for example, our plans are specific to the needs of our clients. And so I should explain that our clients can be cities within the state, right? So for instance, we've done the master plan for, we were hired by Ferndale, hired by Oak Park, and we were recently hired by Dearborn, and we were hired by the city of Southfield, right?
Okay.
So the planning staff of those municipalities have hired Hamilton Anderson, and we have created plans, urban design plans for them.
Okay. So it just depends
on. It depends on the end user. And we have been hired by Henry Ford Health Systems. We've been hired by the Henry Ford. We've been hired by Ford Motor Company. We've been hired by the Riverfront Conservancy. We've been hired by Belle Isle, the Friends of Belle Isle. So these are all kind of cultural institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And they have hired our urban planning and our urban design team for our expertise in order to create plans of vision for those institutions. And each one has their own sort of perspective on where they should go and where they should be. All of these plans are done for all of these institutional and municipal entities in order to help them forecast a healthier, more vibrant, more sustainable future.
Okay.
Right.
So the next question is, what types of funding do you get?
So we don't obtain funding in order to do our plans. Our funding comes from the institution, from the client.
Okay.
So like if you wanted to hire an architect or a landscape architect to design something for your house, you would have to have the funds to do that.
Okay.
So that's the nature of the private sector. You would have to have a line of credit. You'd have to have a bankroll or a checking account, right? A home equity loan, whatever tool you would need in order to reimburse the design professionals is the same thing that we operate in.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you have a specific urban design process?
So I think that was one of the questions. Let me read the answer. Maybe it wasn't.
It's kind of with
Why does
number
this keep
2.
going away? Yeah. It keeps going away, this email. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, number 2, what types of methods are used in the urban design projects and or in the firm practice? This can include steps, processes, approaches, and strategies. So if we just look at the answer, we can look at that together page. We believe that understanding the urban context is a major component that guides our design. Our staff is comprised of many individuals with diverse backgrounds, experiences, and knowledge that help to guide the initial conversations. We also believe that engaging the community and stakeholders, which we are designing for throughout the process, is a fundamental step that builds trust and understanding. We value the opinions and concerns of the community and combine it with our own knowledge as a check for our design proposals. So I would say that that's totally spot on, but I want to emphasize the engaging the community and engaging stakeholders. in other words, the design process, so everything that was written there is good for you to go. You know, you could take that lock, stock, and barrel, okay?
Yeah.
But I want to add with some emphasis that the role of the community, the role of the stakeholder, the way that we approach anything, whether it's urban design or architectural design or even interior design, is through a dialogue, through a conversation between the client or the user groups. You know, when we went into the city of Southfield, I know this from direct experience, we had a series of stakeholder meetings. We scheduled them over 2 months. We met with the stakeholders almost every 3 weeks. It was a big public meeting. We had workshops. We had design sessions with many user groups. We heard from many different entities, from neighborhood associations, from staff, from the city council and the mayor. We heard from citizens. You know, it was a very well-rounded, robust turnout at each of the sessions. And we gave each of the people that had something to say the opportunity to say it, and we documented that. So the idea that design comes from some top shelf or autocratic perspective of things, and we know everything and you guys know nothing, is completely anathema to the way we operate. We operate by engagement, by dialogue, by transaction. We don't operate as if we know everything and then we're going to gift it to you, the end user, because what we know is right. We know you need it, and we're never wrong. That would be a completely misunderstood way that we operate. So the role of the stakeholder, the voice of the stakeholder, the inclusion of her and his opinion is really paramount in everything that we do as designers. And ultimately, it's not just to sit there passively and listen, it's to actually take, say, and integrate it into the plans and show them that their voice is being heard. And then when, you know, the design comes, when it's revealed to all of those user groups, they can sort of point to this tile or this element, and they can see how their voice was woven into the final solution. And so they feel like they were part of it. They feel like they were heard, right? So I think that's really the wonderful thing about this approach, this process.
That's good, because a lot of what we've been learning in class is about including the community, and that's what they're trying to push on everyone and make sure it's like ingrained in your brain, because it's really important. So it's nice,
right?
That you
right, and of course this takes time. Not everyone can be at every meeting. So that's why we have a series of meetings. That's why they're advertised. That's why they drum up support. That's why we bring Tim Hortons Timbits and coffee, or pizza and salads and sodas. So we do all of this to incentivize people to turn out, to take part in public discourse, because design is part of that process. And in a way, it's a truly democratic thing. But like, I remember when I was in school, when I was like in the studio you're in right now, it wasn't necessarily like that. It was something that we thought that we, as those trained in the sensibilities of design, had it in us, and that whatever we sketched was like best or right. And we would present it and people would look at it. I mean, I remember it vividly in my one studio, presenting something that we thought was going to be spot on. And the neighborhoods just looked at us like we were from Saturn. Like,
Wow.
You know, we had 3 arms coming out of our body, and like, they had no idea what we were saying, because we weren't engaged. We weren't listening to we weren't asking, you know, how do you feel? What do you want? And this is happening not just in our office. This is happening in offices all around the world. And this is beginning to happen in the developer community as well. And this happened, of course, in the Brush Park project that you're involved with, as it relates to our office. So it's now the kind of the standard, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah. All right. Um, I think you answered all three of my next questions in one. So
Good. We're flying.
yeah, and that's all the questions I have.
Okay, what are the key positions? Oh, where does this thing go all the time? What are the key? What particular methods are preferred? What are the key positions in the urban design projects, creating an environment? Yeah, we didn't really talk about the fourth question. What are the key positions in the urban design projects? But, but yeah, you could take that answer. So was that it? Did we cover all of your questions?
Yeah, I think that was it. Yep.
Fantastic. Well, I'll bug Andrew now. How's your project coming?
I think it's going okay. I still have a little bit more work to do because I'm still trying to just get everything right, and then I'm also doing the structural. I'm gonna do the steel, I think.
Good.
I'm working that out right now.
So steel is a special animal, right? Because it just so you understand, it's never just steel. It's steel with a metal deck to span between the beams and the purlins, and then the metal deck has some sort of concrete on it in it to create the floor slab. Or steel holds precast concrete, which has a kind of a, I wrote this in the brief, has kind of a curve to it, a camber that kind of relaxes. It kind of like gets like this at the site. I'm exaggerating. And then when you load it and then install it, it kind of flattens out, but you have to put a topping over it as well. So it's still a deli sandwich. It's still a sandwich that you get at the delicatessen loaded with other stuff. And that steel may have fire resistive spray, which I affectionately call oatmeal, as a way of making sure you understand what I'm talking about. So it has all of those things, but steel has great, it has great ability to go quickly and on X-Tech. But there is a steel approach that's kind of interesting. Take a look at that. It's in your chat box. Okay. And if I look it up, I'm just learning about it. Yeah. And since you're kind of our resident sustainability expert, I think you'll appreciate it. Connex-Tech, it's like a high-speed structural steel frame system that has tremendous advantages for mixed-use buildings like this. So I'm excited that you're interested in steel, but I think this is kind of the next generation of structural steel framing. And I think if you look into if you look into it a little bit, particularly under projects and the sort of case studies they have there, I think you'll see why I'm suggesting it.
Yeah, I'm in their
Santana
project.
Yeah, so I know the last project, Santana Row. I know this project really well. We're looking at it for a project here in Detroit right now. So I think it has some advantages, but take a look at the videos, take a look at this approach. I think you're going to find tremendous advantages in terms of translating the loads of the residential volume through to the parking level below. You'll find speed of the construction process much higher. You'll find that it is a much simpler sort of connections approach.
Okay.
So I'm just looking at benefits, and I went under architects.
Mhm.
It offers a revolutionary integrated structural system without compromising architectural style, highly configurable, highly flexible, accommodates variable base spacing and floor heights. It has a limit in terms of height, but you all are well within the limit. I think the limit is like 97 feet.
Oh yeah.
So you guys are way lower than that. So I'd like you to look at this, and I bet Ash doesn't know about it. Really impressed, I think, if you come to the table with the same old thing, structural steel, but with kind of a paradigm
Yeah.
flip on it, right?
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Sure. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good weekend. What's left of it.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Hey, Andrew, how are you? I'm just looking at your sketches here. Hi, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
No, I can't hear anything, so.
Now can you hear me?
Is it working, or?
I can hear you.
Huh, it's weird.
Why don't you come back in?
Okay.
Is that any better?
I'll try.
Is that any better?
Yep, that works. I can hear now.
Excellent, thanks. So I have your drawings.
Get the email? Oh,
yes.
Okay.
I have your drawings. Which plate do you want me to look at?
I guess just start at the beginning.
Okay. So I'm still looking at the 47 spaces in the basement.
I actually haven't changed
And
that, so go to the next one.
Yeah, okay, so you need to clean that up. But
Yeah.
but I do think you're gonna lose about 5 spots down there.
Okay.
Just, columns and cleaning up some of those spaces that I think are a little hinky, right?
Yep.
Which means that you're gonna need probably 5 to 8 spots on the ground floor. And I see that you've maximized the green area and reduced the parking area. So I think that will continue to evolve, but it's looking pretty good as far as I can tell right now. And I like how the trash room is near that no-fly zone, that stripy area.
Yeah.
So a trash truck can pull straight in, do his business, and then back out into the alley. Every morning, every other morning. So I think that works really well for you.
Yeah, the only thing I changed on the main floor was the parking spaces. There's a few other things I gotta fix, like the
Yeah.
corridors from the stairs.
I think the residential floors from 2 to 4 are spot on. I don't see any issues with them. And now I'm seeing some units.
Yeah, I put what originally was there, and then the next one is all the furniture layout and the unit design.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm looking at plate 5, and I can't tell what the boundary of the community room is.
It helps if you go to the next one.
Oh. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Did I give you the area of the community room in the brief?
I think it was like 600 with the terrace plus a community room. It didn't say how much of the each.
Uh-huh. Well, your community room can really be any size because you have 2 exits and you have the elevator serving it. So I think that works pretty well for you. Okay. The terrace should be understood as like a deck area for the socialization, outdoor cafe, not cafe, but outdoor dining or outdoor like party sort of stuff. So that footprint may want to increase a little bit. You may want to square off the community room so that it's in line with the north-south line of the stairway to privilege more terrace space. You follow what I just suggested?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the outdoor garden area can probably both be garden and just an area for rooftops, you know, rooftop mechanical units, that sort of thing. You'll probably have some of those on the top roof as well. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. You put the New City and then the LOHA piece in there. Good.
Yeah, well,
I
that's
never really
going to
thought
the
of them.
facade.
Yeah, I never really thought of them as so comparable. This facade of New City is kind of interesting because the facades that have units in them in New City are punched openings, like inset openings. And then where you have those like outdoor hallways, it's really kind of just a screen wall, but it's all in the same plane, which is really interesting. And I think that LOHA's piece is comparable to that. That's interesting. Okay, so now I'm looking at your sketch.
So I just kind of divided it all on the panels and then placed the windows going to where it worked in the floor plans for each of the rooms.
Cool.
And then I was thinking concrete. It could be concrete or steel, but
For the deck?
for the whole facade, like where those
I see.
blocks are.
So there's something called Okoskin. It's a fiber cement.
How do you spell it?
I'm going to send it to you. It's a concrete panel.
Okay.
It's not poured in place concrete. It's not like sidewalk or driveway concrete. It's a panel. And if you look at projects on their website, if you go to projects and just go to the third one, Okoskin, and just look at some of them, you can you can see the effect, the visual effect. It can come in a staggered bond pattern or a running bond pattern. It can be diagonal. It can have exposed. It can have exposed fasteners or concealed fasteners, but it has a robust range of sort of textural and surface kinds of opportunities. So I'd like to have you consider that.
Okay. Yeah. I was kind of like going for the verticality with this facade too.
Yeah, and I also appreciate the sensibility of the of how the case studies have influenced you here. What are the orange lines there? What are they indicating?
That's
the pop-up of the stairway?
Yeah, that's the stairwell. The height isn't right, but I was just showing that. So I know there's a rule. I got to look more into it about having windows in the egress stair. I think there has to be so many feet on each side of the window, something like that.
So, well, you can have windows in the egress stair. It just, oh, I'm looking at your model now. No, that would be fine. So it looks like in your sketches, you're thinking of not only something in a kind of a taut skin, but you're also thinking of sort of modulating the surface to have indentions and relief. Is that condition something you just started in the sketch and didn't carry all the way through?
Yep.
And you're evaluating it right now? Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know if I'm going to do it just random or figure out a way for certain things come out and certain things stay in type idea.
So one way to do that. So the guys that you're looking at didn't do that. They emphasized the horizontal to create the shadow, and they allowed the vertical panels to have some sort of like corrugated depth or some sort of texture, right? They let all the windows sit back in. So they let the windows recede from the skin to give shadow. You're thinking of the skin having shadow by having projections and contractions, right?
Yeah.
Their strategy is pretty straightforward. Yours is more complicated because you have to have so many more decisions playing out. I don't know that I would try that. I think I would just like let the skin be its own plane, let the windows be its own plane, but don't let them be in the same plane. I think that will give you enough variety. Then, Andrew, you could explore variation, not in actual texture, but in how color variation can produce texture. In other words, if you go back to the Oko skin stuff, you can get like 4 different grays or 4 different versions of white, and they can be next to each other in a random pattern. And so you can achieve this richness of the skin that you're dabbling with on this south end. You can achieve that just with respect to color.
Okay.
How in color theory, certain colors, Andrew, advance from the picture plane, like red, and some colors recede, like blue. So that notion could play out in your skin within like one group of white colors or one group of gray colors or one group of yellow colors. So I think that's maybe, and I want to keep the design for you simpler.
Okay.
But I appreciate what you're trying to do here. And then this design this patterning has to wrap all the way around, right?
Yeah.
It has to, right? And then when it gets to the roof plan, when it gets to plate 6, I think, the 5th floor plan, then some other things can start to happen, like the railing for the community or the terrace space, right? Then the facade of the hallway, that's the single loaded facade for the for the units there on that east leg, those can start to have some variation. They could be all glass or they could be all perforated. Now this is cool. What have you thought of for your floor deck?
I haven't got too into it yet. I was thinking probably just concrete and then have steel for the structure. I'm not 100% sure yet.
I might nudge you to look at post-tension concrete, a poured-in-place post-tensioned slab. I wrote about that in the brief. It's really a beautiful system. It's all poured in place. It creates a very thin profile. You can get it down to 8 inches. You actually don't need to have, I'll wait till you come back.
No, I'm here.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, are you still there?
Yep.
Okay, so I just stopped because you lagged for a second. You froze.
Okay.
But you do not need to have perimeter beams the way you do with steel and traditional poured-in-place concrete. It's a very desirable structural deck for this kind of project, for this kind of end user, which is apartments. Okay? Let me also further explain why it wouldn't be for like condominiums, because condominiums are a for sale product, and lots of people like to change things and amend things over time. So they might want to add a toilet or move the kitchen, expand these spaces to suit their evolving lifestyles. And the point is that when you look at the steel array, the reinforcing steel configuration in a post-tension slab building, it's really, really bizarre. And you sort of go, oh my God, there's fucking steel everywhere in this slab. How in the world would you actually drill through it? And that's just it. You would approach drilling through it with great timidity. You'd resist doing it. You actually have to use like sonar and like laser to understand what's behind it before you drill through it. Because if you drill through one of those rods, you get like zapped. So what happens in post-tension slab as you get into it is they do steel throughout all the columns, and then they run it laterally to stiffen the slab. Then they form the slab, and then they pour it. And then at the ends of the steel, they actually tighten down the rods to create those rods in tension so that it acts with the compression strength of the concrete. So I'm just going to see if there's anything post. Where is it? Post. I'm seeing if there's anything on concrete reinforcing configuration. I'm just typing that in to see if I get an interesting picture. Oh, this is perfect. Here's the other thing. That steel, when it's in the, I'm going to share this with you. Can you wait just a second here?
Yeah.
Okay, you got it?
No. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah.
So you see all that green steel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's set. That's ready to go. That's ready to get the concrete. So it's never like plumbing or mechanical or electrical where everything's parallel, equally spaced, beautiful, right? The way all of those trades do it. Reinforcing steel is in post-tensioning. It's like when I toss the vacuum cleaner cord to open it up, it just falls where it falls, right? That's what this is like. So and I'm just going to sort of just go through a couple of these. It's literally, here's another picture of it. It's literally everywhere. And that's what you have to understand. But it's really a terrific approach for an apartment building where you figure over the life of that building for the next 35 years, you ain't going to be adding toilet rooms. You're not going to be changing them that dramatically.
Okay.
So, and then they change in height too. So they drop down, they go back up. So they're literally all over the place. Here's another diagram. The reason they can avoid columns and beams the reason they can avoid ledger beams at the edges is because they're heavy in reinforcing, right? As you see here. And then the columns of concrete also receive lots of steel, so there's always a heavy amount of reinforcing in the concrete condition as well. In the concrete column condition as well. And to sort of just find an example for you. But I'd like you to consider this approach.
Okay.
There's probably videos on it. Yep, post-tension slab and beam, YouTube. Pre-tensioning versus post-tensioning, but I'm talking about post-tensioning. So it's a really, really, efficient and dramatic approach for what you're doing. So that allows that slab at each floor, Andrew, to be like 8 inches thick, which will change your building elevation. Because right now it looks like it's about 14 inches or 12 inches thick.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll end that. So keep flying. And that means that those columns can be like every 30 feet, right? Along the skin and within the frame of the building. You can have minimal column configurations to sort of pollute the floor plan, particularly in an L-shaped building like this. So keep flying.
All right.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Cool. Fix that basement plan and you're good to go.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Yep.
Thanks for coming by.
Well.